Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 100 Days of Magic. This is day number 58, and today we're going to take a look at Urza's Destiny from an EDH eye. Now, Urza's Destiny, it came out in June of 1999, so we're still looking at 20-year-old cards. 143 cards, 44 rare, 44 uncommon, and 55 common. Something notable about Urza's Destiny, though, is due to a collation error, there was a possibility that you could get those Saga promos, the promo foils, mixed in the packs, and even like the lightning bolt and random stuff. It was weird. Just error that happened. It's the odds of it are very, very small. So, anyway, let's get into the cards. And we start off with Academy Rector. This is, it's been an amazing card since it got printed, and it just gets better over time. Especially now. We got the enchantments last year in C18, and this thing, it just goes and gets you whatever you need. We got bargain with it back in the day. We, played the Grim Monolith into the Academy Rector and sacked it to the Phyrexian Vault, or the Phyrexian Tower, and then got the bargain, and shenanigans ensued. But yeah, it's really good. False Prophet. Now, False Prophet is another way that to just stall up the board. I do believe False Prophet was the back in these days pre-release week, and it happened that way for a long time. Everybody got the same pre-release card, and if I'm thinking right, False Prophet was the pre-release. It's been a little while for me, but it does in our format. It'll stall out a board. It will big time. Stall out a creature board anyway. Nobody wants to see it die, but every now and then you get somebody that refuses to be choked, and so they're just like, you know what? We're just going to kill it now and get it out of the way. It's fun to reanimate, though. Flicker, the card that actually gave us the ability slang that we use for taking a creature out and putting it right back into play. Now, this was originally, I used it as a white counterspell. If it was a removal spell targeting a permanent, I would just flicker it out. It leaves, it comes back. Of course, it's a new permanent, and the spell that targeted originally fizzled because it has no legal targets now. But as they printed more and more enters play and leaves play abilities, the flicker ability got better. And, it's really good. Mask of Law and Grace. This is one that I just couldn't. For 1 mana, for a creature enchantment and 1 mana, this is just outstanding. Obviously, you're playing white, but it gives you protection to the both of white's enemies. Pro black, pro red is meaningful protection. It really is. Opalescence, part of the Opalescence Replenish deck that was popular at the time. Back then, the wording on this, I know it may seem a little odd, global enchantment. They were experimenting with the different kinds of enchantments. They knew that they needed a separation between an enchantment that you played on the board and an enchant creature or an enchant permanent thing that you played attached to something. So what they come up with then, what they were using then, was local enchantments and global enchantments. A local enchantment was attached to something. A global enchantment you just played on the battlefield. So eventually they would find aura, and they just use enchantment and then enchantment aura. So, but the making all your enchantments get up and walk is pretty amazing. Now, years later, we would get Enchanted Evening, and Enchanted Evening and Opalescence creates nobody can ever have land thing again unless you've got a Glorious Anthem type effect to where you can have lands and nobody else can, which is, I don't know, it's right up my alley, I'll tell you that. And Replenish, the other part of the deck. This card still, Replenish is super expensive because there just ain't no more. There are how many there are, but for 4 mana to be able to return them all to play. And the sad part about the reserve list is they cannot do a functionally identical version, so it's not like they can cost it the same and have the same ability and call it, you know, I don't know, something different. But I guess they could change up the mana, call it whatever. I doubt they will, though, because this is such a powerful effect. Tethered Griffin, another. A little known fact about the Urza block in general, the designers originally planned the Urza block to be an Enchantment Matters block, but somewhere along the way it kind of got twisted a little bit, but there's a lot of the holdovers from the Enchantment block. Now, Mark Rosewater, exclusively 100% was the design team for this set. The entire set. He designed all 143 cards. Yeah. Well, for a long time, 143 cards was the set size for a small set. It was just locked at 143. But Tethered Griffin is an amazing card. 1 mana, 2/3. Yeah, you don't run it out on turn 1, obviously, but man, it's in your enchantment deck. It's a good flyer that you can play quick and, you know, enchant it up. It's pretty neat. Wall of Glare. Here's another one for our wall deck. You know, can block any number of creatures. It's not bad. Aura Thief. Yes, the enchantment theme is strong here. Aura Thief does still see a lot of play. This Joker's gotten pricey. Well, especially since C18 came out. If you notice, I don't really quote prices because, you know, it's like the stock market. This stuff changes every day. And, you know, if I looked up any kind of pricing, it might be valid for the next 30 minutes, and then that's probably it. By the time you watch the video, it's probably inaccurate. That's why I just know that this card sees a lot of play. Put in the graveyard from play. That's easy enough to control. You can do that with sack outlets and to just steal all enchantments. Here again, Enchanted Evening is the best friend of Aura Thief because Enchanted Evening makes all permanents enchantments. So you just gain control of everything on the board. Most of the time that gets you a scoop. Let's play the next game. Donate. This is the card that made it all possible. That, hey, remember those old... I remember the price spike on the Ice Age card that I covered, the Illusions of Grandeur, to when this thing happened, because that's immediately what you wanted to do, was you wanted to donate Illusions of Grandeur, because it was, if it wasn't an instant win, it was just about. But, yeah, donate's pretty good. Opposition. Man, Opposition. Of course, this is Urza and Mishra there. I'm sorry, Urza and Baron. But I'm telling you what, tap an artifact, creature, or land. As part of the, the squirrel guy we talked about in Legacy. There was many, many ways to abuse this. You just tap and you can lock somebody down. Easy enough. Hate to bring up Seedborn again, but, you know, in a multiplayer format, Seedborn is amazing. Rain. Rain is Baron's wife and, of course, Hannah's mother. I read all those books back then, and she didn't get a whole lot of book time, but she's there. Now, I am still in the process of building Rain. It's just, her ability is so conditional. Your permanents have to get targeted by a spell or ability of your opponents. So and if she's the commander, we're playing mono blue. You draw a card. Now, obviously, you want to do the enchantment route with her. You want to make sure she's enchanted so you get the benefit there. So you draw 2 cards when it happens, but it's so conditional on your opponents doing things, and it's so easy for them to go, oh, okay, that's what she does. I just won't target your stuff. So it's provided a unique deck building challenge for me. you can't really do flavor of her because, I mean, you could put her and Baron in there, but you can't put Hannah, and you can't, I mean, yeah. So I'll figure it out. Something will come along. I don't know. Maybe a weather deck, since her name is Rain. I don't know. Rescue. Now, intent versus function here. The intent was to be able to save your permanent at instant speed from removal. The function was, well, at the end of the turn before me, I'm going to bring my stasis back to my hand so that I get to untap all my stuff after it gets to the point where I can't pay for it anymore. I'm down to that single blue, and I can just be like, I'm going to rescue my stasis, untap everything, replay stasis, let's start this clock again. Yeah. But rescue is it's a great combat trick. It's a great any kind of trick. If you can target, if it doesn't have Shroud or Hexproof, you can rescue it. Really good. Treachery. There again, it's this was the first time I think which we saw an adaptation to Control Magic. Control Magic was deemed the benchmark for stealing a creature, and this cost 1 more mana, and yeah, it did untap 5 lands, but I didn't latch onto this very early because I was like, I'll just run Control Magic instead. But the fact that this is quasi-free is not bad. As it turns out, it's amazing. Attrition. Boy, this is the card we want. Sack a creature, destroy a creature. No, non-black creature. But there's so many... Now we have so many creatures with amazing leaves play abilities that you get double duty out of this to be able to get that trigger and destroy a creature. Attrition, there's a laundry list of cards that just combo with it. It's an amazing addition to your graveyard and or sacrifice deck. Bubbling Muck. This is our Black High Tide. It is sorcery. It's not instant like High Tide was. They learned a little bit from that. I would love actually to see this cycle. I say cycle. There's a blue one. There's a black one. That's it. So we're what? 3 cards shy, or 4 if you want to count the waste, of making this a cycle. Would love to see the others. I don't know that it'll happen for 1 mana. I mean, that's... Can you imagine a 1 mana green spell that made all your forest tap for 2 that turn? Yeah, that's kind of... Or red. White. Yeah, white's not as powerful, but, it'd last play Iona quicker, wouldn't it? Eradicate. Now, there was a cycle of these uncommons that, now that I think about it, I think they all cost 4. Eradicate was the first one that came up alphabetically, obviously. It did a thing, and then it searched the controller's graveyard hand library for all copies of that card. Like this one got a creature. The green one got an artifact. The red one got a non-basic. Things like that. And in our format, really the only one here that matters is Eradicate. And that only matters because there are 4 creatures that exist that have that super line of you can have any number of them. The 3 black creatures plus the new blue one. So there is a card out there, and in worst case scenario, you're paying 4 mana to exile a creature. There are better options to do that with, but if somebody in your meta is running Persistent Petitioners or Relentless Rats or the Cleric, it might be something that if you've got a card that does something similar, I don't know. I hate to say make the swap, but if those cards are ruining your day, we do have an answer. Phyrexian Negator. Now this was... Oh man, they made a better Juzam Djinn. It's 5/5 trample for 3. It's, and it was expensive at the time. I didn't really latch onto it that much. Now, it is in the same set that gave us Donate, so I do like giving this away, and then, I don't know, blasphemous acting or whatever. But technically, this is on the reserve list. Now, there is a From the Vault copy. Used to, they could do promo foils and stuff like that on the reserve list, but they've changed that reserve list several times, several iterations. So, I don't know. The reserve list is such a touchy topic. A lot of people are for, a lot of people are against. Wizards can't talk about it at all. They're under orders from legal not to talk about it, so they just don't talk about it. But I don't know. However you feel one way or another, this is on there. Yawgmoth's Bargain. Speaking of reserve list, this card is so powerful. It's banned in our format. There's just so much brokenness. And at first pass, we looked at it as a Necropotence. And then we found out inside of about 12 seconds that it was superior to Necropotence. Just so good, especially in the black decks that were using it at the time with tons of the life drain. So not only am I draining you life, I'm using that life to draw more cards, which will net me more drain cards, and it was nuts. We used this, that Scourge Familiar, and Soul Feast, to where we would just discard 5 cards, Soul Feast you, gain the 4 life, use the 4 life to draw more. I mean, yeah, it was nuts. It's used still to this day in every format that it's legal in, which I think that's only, one? Great card. Covetous Dragon was the win con in the Wildfire deck. You played a bunch of artifacts, you Covetous Dragon, you Wildfire, your dragon lived through it, more than likely everything else didn't, you still had tons of rocks. This deck went to the World Championship that year, and it is a nice fit for our EDH red Artifact Matters decks, because it is probably, well, then it was cheaper than it should be. Now it's probably on curve. 5 mana for a 6/5 flyer. Normally the dragons are, 5/5, and for 6 mana. Shivan Dragon is kind of the benchmark. Every now and then they'll go above. It seems like if they go above the power level of Shivan, it's a mythic. Or like Shivan Hellkite was really good. But anyway, Covetous Dragon. Repercussion. Woo-wee. Star of Extinction, anyone? Yeah. Whenever creatures dealt damage, Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. So, creatureless red is a thing I've been wanting to do. That's completely and totally doable, because there's enough red enchantments and things like that to actually get a win con out of it. And Repercussion and Star of Extinction or Blasphemous Act, whatever, is completely and totally doable. Because if you have no creatures, you don't care. And everybody else is taking obscene amounts of damage. Wake of Destruction. Now, I played around this, when EDH first started, I played around this card so much. I played around it. I would play all of in single color decks, I would play all of those weird lands that tap for 1 color, but they do something minuscule, because I was running scared of Wake of Destruction. And as it turned out, it's not that popular of a card in our format. I don't know why. Well, I do, because monocolor decks are not the norm. But, whoa. 6 mana to pop all lands with the same name is it's a devastating blow. Elvish Piper. This was the set that gave us Elvish Piper. And, it's... Elvish Piper is kind of considered a beginner card nowadays. I don't know why. I still love it. I think it's amazing. Now we have way more impressive creatures than we had back then. But man, just but people caught on real quick. If somebody plays an Elvish Piper, you kill it. If you can't kill it, you just got to be prepared to die because they're just going to drop something dumb and, ruin your day with it. Gamekeeper. Rudy pulled a full one of these out of his box that he released a while back, a couple days ago, weeks, whatever it was. But I like this one. It is a 4-mana 2/2, and the fact that it's an elf does not hurt either. But when it goes to the graveyard, you get essentially Oath till you hit a creature. I like it. It works well with, of course, top and the rack. The scroll rack is, because you draw something expensive and then you put it back on the top of your deck. You sacrifice this guy, or, And the Gamekeeper is actually good for a lot of free amounts of little chip-in damage because people are not going to want to block this. They don't want to see it die. And you might even get lucky enough to where they waste an exile spell on it. Pattern of Rebirth. Yep. When this creature dies, I get another creature. Whatever I want from my deck. Yeah. Really, really good. Enables a lot of things. Here again, the black-green sacrifice, style decks can go, and it's another tutor for whatever your win con creature is. I think Plow Wander may be more demoralizing than just destroying 2 lands. Devastate was 6 mana and it destroyed 2 lands, but this is, not only are you taking away their 2 lands, albeit it's just temporary, but you're taking away their next 2 draws as well, and that is a tempo killer. I use this in Agonizing Memories and Misinformation and all kinds of weird stuff to actually build a deck where people kept their opening hand and you just kept making them draw the same cards over and over. It was yeah. It didn't win a lot, but it sure was fun to play, I say. It wasn't fun to play against, I'll admit that. But in our format, it does take those two lands off the board. We play in a multicolor heavy format, and being able to 2 lands, you can probably hose out an entire color and set them back 2 to 3 turns with this. I think Plow Wander sets them back more than 2 turns because it takes a while to recoup from this. It really does. My man Raphellos. Raphellos was real good friends with Gerard. They both studied under, I think Multani, if I'm not mistaken. But this card was deemed too powerful for EDH. It is on the ban list. I mean, you got to be something to get banned from our format, really. I mean, you can play Cyclonic Rift in this format. You can play Armageddon. You can play all kinds of stuff. No Raphellos. Super good. Well, turn 2, the Rules Committee had a while back had a list of banned cards and then banned as commander. So Raphellos kind of fell under that. He got banned as a commander, so you could use him in the 99, but not as your commander. And then several years ago, they said, you know what? That's confusing. A ban list is a ban list. If it's good enough to be banned as your commander, then you probably don't need it at all. Because there was the lucky 2 draws or the Worldly Tutor on turn 1 for Raphellos, so you could do it on turn 2. But it happens. He's amazing. He allows turn 3 6 drops. What? Or 7 if you turn 1 Land Award. I mean, it's nuts. Taunting Elf. This is the card that elves needed. Because elves typically kind of go wide, and thanks to the 15 champions that we have now that all increase their power, this was the deck, the card that needed a throwaway creature. Their entire team has to block this, so they can't block anything else, and you just get through for the win. I mean, that's how Taunting Elf works. He is your sacrificial elf. And, if you, in our format, yeah, that's a good way to take out one player, but if you can make the Taunting Elf indestructible, that's really good too. Thorn Elemental. Now, this was the first set for it. They've reprinted it a bunch. I think the last time it was down to uncommon, but it has that ability that I have always called, and I've heard a few other people call Super Trample. It don't matter if you block it or not. I'm still going to do 7 to you, which is, I mean, it's not a bad ability, but I think they overcost it. Which, I guess if you get to ignore blocking, it should cost a little more. But Yavimaya Elder, one of the best green card draw spells. I mean, it's so good. You have a 2/1 that you can do 2/1 things with, most likely block. And then in response to that block, you spend the 2 mana, sacrifice him, draw a card, get 2 lands. You're up three cards in your hand. Now, 2 of those are lands, but odds are you played him on turn 3. You've got 3 lands in play. You could be doing worse things than ensure your next 2 land drops happen. Yavimaya Enchantress, card that's always been good. It's even better now. Like I said there before, every enchantment they print makes this card better. And any kind of enchantment that gives her evasion does, like, what is that? Oh, shoot. I'm drawing a blank. Colorless green. All your creatures have trample. I got one over on the table. I can't think of it. Y'all are shouting into the team, but I can't hear you. Shout louder. Come on. Dang it. Anyway, it's not coming. Anyway, it's a good card for Enchantress decks. Obviously, Enchantress is in the name. Now, we go to artifacts. Caltrops. Oh, girl. I love me some Caltrops. Seedry Galvanic Genius makes this one absolutely fun. Because what Seedry does is she will turn any artifact into... she's got 2 different activations. She'll turn an artifact into an artifact creature. And then she'll give an artifact creature Death Touch and something else. So, turning this into a creature and giving it Death Touch only to have creatures attack, oh, it's so good. Most of the time, it just deters the attack altogether, which is really problematic for your creature-based decks out there. It's good for other things. There's black cards. Whenever a creature takes damage, it dies. That was from the last set. I mean, there's so good uses for Caltrops. It's, in my opinion, a lost gem. Talk about not a lost gem. Jug Diver. Everybody knows about Jug Diver. It's amazing. It's amazing with Metalworker. It's amazing with, even if you're not in red, I've used it plenty of times with Hell's Caretaker. Hell's Caretaker in that instance is just a worse Goblin Welder, but if you're playing mono black, that's what we got. Or, well, things like it. There's a lot of ways in black to bring back a creature. And this having a relevant flying ability, it can block successfully those non-trample creatures, but it is... I really, really enjoy me some Jug Diving. Woo. By the way, Metalworker is a golem, and I think I have one Metalworker left, and I think it's in Tribal Golems. I'm not sure. It may be gone. I may be misremembering. But, ooh, I mean, this is the card. Because you played artifact heavy anyway, and if you can get... Because you're getting 2 colorless for each artifact that you reveal. And then Mirrodin gave us those artifact lands. So, if you ran a lot of those, and you had land drops left, and a few rocks in your hand, it was very easy to tap this and get 8 or 10 mana. And you could just, have all kinds of memory jar fun. Powder Keg. Now, I use Powder Keg probably differently than everybody else. To me, this says 2 mana destroy all tokens. but you can, because you destroy each artifact and creature with converted mana cost equal. So it's not equal or less, it is equal to. So when you cast it, it's going to have 0 fuse counters on it, so you can immediately tap sack it to destroy all 0 cost, hence the tokens. But it's been an all-star ever since it was printed. It's a great card. Ooh. I'm telling you, certain cards just warm my heart, and Thran Dynamo is one of them. This has been reprinted several times. I think it's kept the same art every time, and that's awesome. Some of the old arts they are really hesitant to use because of the art agreement was different back past a certain line. I honestly don't remember what that line was, but they changed the way they purchase art. Because I think they used to do royalties and now they don't. They just outright purchase. But anyway, that's why we won't see, original art Shivan Dragon, Bird of Paradise again. They can, but it just costs more. I'm sure, there might be a financial reason for them at some point. I don't know. I would love to see original art foil Shivan Dragon. I say I would like it, but you know what? I don't know that I'm ready for it. But Thran Dynamo, back to Thran Dynamo. I love the card. 4 for 3. Even when it was new, I loved it. Because it was nothing to Thran Dynamo, tap it, Worn Power Stone. Next turn, I'm doing stuff. Urza's Incubator has gotten, here again, this is an EDH, the commander tax, if you will. No other format besides us plays this card. We are responsible for this card holding the price it does. And it should. It's amazing. Some of those, if you can turn one, especially, say you get the crazy draw and you get the Mana Vault. Turn 1 land, Mana Vault, Incubator, Naming Dragons. Well, you know what? You're lined up. Or Angels. Or any Eldrazi, maybe. Just crazy stuff. Yavimaya Hollow. It's a green legendary land. Taps for a colorless and taps to regenerate target creature. It's alright at best. I mean, if this was in, if this was in Lorwyn or Zendikar, it wouldn't be anywhere near the fraction of the price it is, but it is, I believe this is on the list if I'm not mistaken. And that's what we've got for Urza's Destiny. This is a long one too, about 30 minutes in. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think, and we will see y'all tomorrow.